Bolsonaro leads massive free speech protests in Brazil after the Supreme Court bans X. Thousands of Brazilians flooded the city streets on Saturday to protest against the government's censorship crusade against Elon Musk's Free Speech X platform. The demonstration, led Saturday on Independence Day, was led by former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro, who said in response to Supreme Court Justice Alexandre de Moraes, "I hope that the federal Senate puts the brakes on Alexandre de Moraes, this dictator who does more harm to Brazil than Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva himself," he said. Several notable X accounts, including journalist Michael Schellenberger, are reporting from Sao Paulo's main boulevard, where tens of thousands have gathered today in opposition to far-left Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva and Supreme Court Justice Alexandre de Moraes that recently blocked X nationwide. And here's more from Schellenberger on the situation. Brazilian President Lula and Supreme Court Justice Alexandre de Moraes say they must block X to protect Brazil's independence. X is a platform for dangerous, false, hateful words, they say, and many of those words violate Brazil's laws and constitutions. But this censorship goes far beyond what Brazil's constitution allows. The government demanded that X and other social media networks censor and ban individual people, including journalists and politicians. Such bans are immoral, illegal, and unconstitutional. They constitute election interference and undermine democracy by preventing candidates from getting the word out. I agree that lying is wrong, hate speech is ugly, and that there is limit to freedom of speech. We must not allow people to use words that directly result in physical violence. But everybody lies, everybody engages in hate speech, and the limits to free speech must never include elections. Imagine what would happen if it were illegal to lie. Everyone should go to prison, starting with the journalists and politicians. As for hate speech, did Lula express hatred when he praised Adolf Hitler? Does he not express hatred every time he speaks of Elon Musk and Jair Bolsonaro? Everybody knows in their heart that censorship is wrong. We all know that we are imperfect and do not know everything. We know that we rely on others to discover the truth. Why then do so many people want censorship? This is what Michael Schellenberger said. And in a separate X post, Schellenberger said the crowd was absolutely enormous. Without a doubt, one of the largest free speech protests in history, he said. Rebel news journalists were also on the ground capturing massive crowds via drone footage. And the leftist censorship campaign against political opponents is all too familiar. Americans, with Democrats having spent years on a crusade to cancel political opponents under the guise of misinformation and disinformation. His son, Eduardo Bolsonaro, said Moraes plans to end freedom of speech in the country and called for impeachment of the president. He added that Elon Musk understands that the battle is for freedom of speech and transcends economic issues. Edward Bolsonaro recently spoke with conservative journalist Branea Morello about the far-left government in Brazil using the guise of hate speech to put an end to the Bolsonaro movement. Last week, shortly after X was banned in Brazil, in the U.S., the former deputy chair of the Democratic National Committee, Keith Ellison, wrote on X, "Thank you, Brazil." The bottom line is that far-left politicians across the Americas, and here Brazil, of course, South America, and the West have waged an all-out war against free speech, it seems, and Musk's social media platform, because their political opponents and non-government approved narratives are gaining too much traction. The censorship crusade allows the far left is desperate and will resort to banning free speech to silence political opponents. And this is on Zero Hedge by Tyler Durden. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.